I am super excited for you, Arleen. Where did Arleen go? She's busy. I just want to say good afternoon, everyone. And thank you so much, Linda, for making sure that I was aware of this wonderful, wonderful celebration for Arleen. And just like Linda said, Emlyn School, we are just so pleased with all of the work that our school was able to do with Arleen and all of the wonderful artists that we had throughout the years. If you're ever in the area, please stop by and just ask to take a tour to see all of the beautiful murals that we had hanging in our building, one on each floor, a couple on the outside of the building, and it couldn't be possible without you, Arleen, and the work of the artists. So please give them a round of applause. We are super excited about that. The day for all of us to reflect on the important role you have played in supporting schools, students, teachers, parents, colleagues, and friends. You are honored here today by all who want to say thank you, and we want to wish you well. Those of us at Inland Elementary School would like to say thank you for bringing the Community of Pride murals and literacy through the Arts Project to Inland School, and for allowing them to showcase their work at Lovett Library and other community events. Many of our students being with Pride when they actually sold their first piece of art and actually got to keep the money. One of which is hanging in my office today. You help touch the lives of students who may not have always had the highest grade or score on the test, but those who simply shared a love of art. The staff and students at Inland School appreciate you for seeing the pride in our students and for leading the way for creativity. Through this program, we realize that art itself is rooted in history and can be a catalyst for positive change in our own communities. Ms. Veronica, the art teacher at Inland School, says, "It was truly an amazing experience to work with Arleen and the Mount Airy Art Garage artists and teachers. They gave our students an opportunity to work and learn from experienced artists who showed us how to love and appreciate many types of art. Thank you for inspiring our student artists to take chances and to be bold when expressing their thoughts and ideas. As much as everyone is happy for you as you begin this well-earned retirement, there is no doubt that you will be missed dearly. So today we thank you once again for all that you have done to push our students to dream and create works of art that will remain in our school for years to come. May you be proud of the work you have done, the many lives you have touched, and the difference you have made." And here's a quick poem. "You work real hard, you've come this far. I hope you know how blessed you are. New tomorrows, brand new plans, all of them are in God's hands. You'll have more hours in the day to hope, to dream, to rest, to play. You'll find new ways to be inspired. Congratulations, Arleen, you've retired." May this next chapter of your life bring you endless time to travel, to stop and truly smell the roses and do all the things you love. Cherish and enjoy every moment. Happy retirement, Arleen. We appreciate you.
One of those years, even when she wasn't directly active in my life, I heard her voice in my head. I felt her spirit supporting me no matter what I did. Even if she disagreed with something I did, I still felt supported. She's a tremendous leader and an intergenerational leader. Like from the time she was a young girl to a young woman, to a woman, to a dyke, and now as an elder, through that whole time, she's been this incredible leader in her family, in her neighborhood, in her community. And I just feel so blessed to get to share a little bit. I'm a genealogist and an historian, so I actually went on newspapers.com to see when the first mention of Arleen Olshan was in the local newspapers. And it was in the 1967, April 1967 Philadelphia Inquirer. And the Philadelphia Inquirer was shocked to report that there were hippies living in Germantown. And they had opened up a shop on East Schoolhouse Lane called Image. And Arleen sold leather at Image in 1967. And there was a wonderful photo of her in the shop. And it talks about, you know, they were a little shocked to find a woman selling leather. You could just tell the whole shock that there were hippies and they were selling leather on Schoolhouse Lane. And, you know, just to know, you get the sense also that she was a smart businesswoman. And when I talk to people about Giovanni's Room, which she helped to found, I had lunch with Thomas Weinberg, one of the co-founders last week, and he said, Arleen was the only one who knew anything about business. Like, she was the only one who kept us from shutting down, who cared about the money, who had a business plan. I'm sure it's a little bit of an exaggeration, but probably mostly true. And you have to remember in 1973 that they faced real discrimination. Landlords wouldn't rent to them. They didn't know what was going on in this bookshop. You know, I'm sure they imagined all the worst things. It was just a very nice LGBT bookshop with great feminist books and magazines and, you know, books that you weren't able to get anywhere else. And they showed a lot of courage. And having an open window, it was, I think, the first gay business of any kind that wasn't covered with wood, so you could actually see in. And how much courage in 1973 it took to be the woman who was the business brains and the community brains behind what was happening there. And they were kicked out of various places and had to find a new place, and people would say, we're not going to rent to you. And there was no civil rights for gay people in 1973. So you couldn't even sue anyone. You just, okay. You know, and so they ended up buying their own place, which, you know, when you think of what it's like as young business people to purchase a building. And, you know, I'm so grateful because I run a community center, but I always say, Giovanni's Room is the other community center. In some ways, I feel it's an even stronger community center, because when I was 17, that's where I went. And I pulled books out, and I learned who I was by going into that bookshop. And then people who worked there would say, you should go over there, go to William Way, check out this place or that place. So truly, it's been a really important community center from day one. And I also want to credit Arleen, because she didn't stop being invested. And in fact, I forget the exact year, but in this century, the building needed to be renovated. The front of the building, the bricks were having problems, and Arleen came back and helped fundraise for that. You know, a lot of people, when they move beyond something, that's it. They move on to their next chapter. But Arleen's always willing to come back and, you know, revisit and support and invest. And I think all of us in this room feel that. Like the love that, whatever project you've worked on with her, the love and commitment she's given. So I just want to take a moment, a round of applause for all that love and commitment. House of Pudenda. And at the House of Pudenda, you could see paintings of naked women. And that was a big deal. And I want to say, as a gay man who doesn't get to see naked women a lot, I'm grateful to Arleen for having these beautiful paintings of naked women. And again, in 1973, I want to point out, because I know this, that the art textbooks in the art schools had no women artists in them. Correct. Shocking, right? And so, you know, people like Arleen were setting a history where women's artists should be celebrated, images of women should be celebrated. So it was part of a feminist movement, very powerful, that changed the world. So that nowadays you couldn't imagine an art textbook not having women artists in it and celebrating women artists. She was a huge part of that. Leatherwork was huge for her. I already mentioned it earlier, but she had a thriving leatherwork business with many employees, and my understanding is there was an auto accident at some point which hurt her hand, and so she shifted somewhat to painting, and thank God, because what a talented painter she is. And I just wanted to note 3 of the portraits I know she did that are particularly moving to me. So Victoria Brownworth, who's a marvelous writer for the PGN and for national magazines, and has always taken a really critical feminist and queer perspective to, you know, the courage to say things a lot of other people wouldn't do. Arleen painted a portrait of Victoria. One of my favorites is Ethel Allen. I don't know if everyone knows who Ethel Allen is, but she was the first black woman city council person in Philadelphia, and she was also a Republican, and she was a doctor, and she had a clinic in North Philadelphia, and she went on under Governor Thornburgh to be in the cabinet of Governor Thornburgh, so a very distinguished black woman in politics. And I won't say whether she was a lesbian, but it's often thought that she was. And so maybe what did you say that she vouched? Yeah. So I think again, celebrating particularly black voices and black history is a big part of what Arleen did, because things can get whitewashed even in the queer world. And so she also painted one of my favorite portraits, which if you're ever on Zoom, you may see it, of Joe Beam. And Joe Beam worked with Arleen at Giovanni's room. He was a black gay man. I'll take a moment for the applause. And Joe Beam grew up in West Philly, and his mother really kept his legacy. He died of AIDS in the 80s, but before he died, he wrote the first anthology of black gay men's writings called In the Life. And there's a famous quote, which I just love, which is that black men loving black men is the revolutionary act. And it reminds me that women loving women is the revolutionary act. And so this solidarity between black gay men and lesbians, and I can only imagine the conversations that Joe and Arleen had. And so she's painted this gorgeous portrait of him, which just captures his joy. And for so many young gay men, and especially black gay men, he's revered as one of the major ancestors of the movement. So thank you for painting Joe. So those three folks, just to give you an example of the sorts of portraiture she's done, and so much more, including a wonderful self-portrait, which really captures her as a young woman. So all of these things, and I just want to say that the beautiful thing for me about Arleen is that throughout her life, whether she was a young person, an adult, now as an elder, and I'll say that even when she's an ancestor many, many years from now, that she's engaged in the conversation in a non-threatening way. And for me, the most recent example of this is we had a meeting at William Way on women's programs. And this was cisgender lesbian women, and it was trans women, all in the same room. And that's a challenging conversation, both intergenerationally and across culture. And I spoke to both Arleen and Linda about what it was like. They didn't leave, they didn't go in or say, it should only be lesbians, forget all these trans women. There's a lot of conversations that can happen. They listened, and there was able to be a conversation between the women in that room. And I feel like at a time that's very divisive between all the identities that we have, sexual orientation, race, gender, etc. We need people like Arleen who can be in a room as an elder and not be like, the way we did it was right. You kids got it totally wrong. And we need that intergenerational perspective and voice. And Arleen keeps showing up, because I'll tell you, there are many older people who are like, I'm done with this community. And I understand that, people get tired. But Arleen still is showing up at our community meetings, showing up at our art exhibits, engaging with all that we do. So starting at Image on East Schoolhouse Lane, through Giovanni's room, through William Way, through the Mount Airy Art Garage, into all the, I'm gonna be a little counter voice, because I totally believe in retirement, and I think it's important, but I'm gonna be the voice that she doesn't retire. And that in fact, she remains engaged and energetic, and I think you can do both, but I'm gonna be the voice for seeing you showing up at things and being even busier than you used to be. And hopefully Linda won't hate me. I love you so much, Arleen. We just think you're the best, and we celebrate you for who you are in so many marvelous ways. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you all for being here, being supportive of me through these years. It's very humbling to hear sweet things and support and love, and it's kind of overwhelming. This whole thing has been pretty overwhelming. Linda outdid herself, really. She's really quite a partner in this life of mine. And I will keep going on, and I will keep doing my art and my leather and community work, and you all are a testament of how wonderful it is to be a community activist. I mean, all of you are community activists, pretty much, in your own ways, in the talents and the skills that you have. My life would not be complete without you, too. And you all inspire me to want to do the work that I do, and to be appreciated is so spectacular, really. I mean, you know, it's like, it just blows me away, really. And I have to tell you one thing, though, and Linda and I took care of some elder relatives a few years ago as they were in the final throes of their life. And my uncle said something that feels also very relevant, you know, is that the people you think you could depend on aren't always the ones. You can't take people for granted. And so there's some surprises that happened in my life this year, which, you know, have put me in a kind of a strange situation. And I appreciate that, you know, people love me and appreciate me and are here for the long haul with Arleen Olshan. And that my artwork is not pornographic, and, you know, and that's, and that is respected too. I mean, the pieces that were questionable were 50 years old. And they were like in the Inquirer in 1974, which is totally crazy, right? So I'm going to keep on doing my artwork. I'm just going to keep on doing this is my life, you know, and the fact that I can be who I am with my peers and with my community just means the world to me. So thank you very much.
Love you.
Love you.
It's got to tell me what. Yeah, it's like, God forbid.
It's your cake, you do what you want.
Right. You got the rainbow.
Kim's gonna help you cut a cake.
You want me to cut it out and serve it?